All right, my friends, welcome back. It is early Friday evening, April 25th, 2025, and I'm sitting on my back porch, sipping slowly on a glass of orange juice. Kind of a funny thing for me to be drinking at this time of the day, but I wanted to take a little bit of time to share a few thoughts with you that I've been really milling over for the past couple of days. I'm rereading a book, and I'm closing in on the end here. It's called Man Against Himself, written by Carl Menninger of the Menninger Institute. It was written back in the 1950s, and the psychology in this book is as relative today as it was back then. And what I've been pondering lately here is what he's been discussing in this part of the book near the end about how many illnesses and diseases are brought about psychosomatically. They are compelled by the turbulence of the mind. Now, a lot of it's theory, and he'll tell you a lot of it is theory. There's a lot of things you just can't prove, especially in the field of psychology, but you can be aware and notice patterns, especially with all the people that they talk to one-on-one. They have to observe in some of these facilities, and they get, a lot of times they don't get told everything, but they have to watch carefully. This is what they do. And over the decades, they have realized that there are certain common threads that run through patients of different illnesses and diseases. And a lot of it comes from a strong sense of emotionalism. Now, this is probably not unfamiliar to you, whether you've ever opened up a psychology book or not, whether you've ever listened to a podcast where somebody in that particular field was discussing something. It doesn't really matter. You understand, and you've observed either yourself or other people in your life who've gotten really upset and gotten sick afterwards, or come down with a cold, or maybe someone has died, or there's been some kind of a trauma, and they just mentally, emotionally, and internally collapsed. They've noticed this with tuberculosis patients. Back then, I can't already talk right. They noticed that with them back in the day. And there are so many things like that. Now, obviously, not every illness, not every disease is caused by the illness of the mind. But I think we can all agree that we have seen the patterns. Isn't that correct? I know of my own father, who died of he didn't die initially of this, but he went down over 20 years ago of a double aortic aneurysm, and it was pretty bad. He had about a 5% chance of making it through the surgery, and he did, but we wish he had not, because his life was just worth nothing after that. And I remember telling my mom for years before this ever happened to my dad, I told her, I think Dad has some kind of a death wish. And he never handled stress very well, and it aged him rapidly. My dad always looked 10 years older than what he was. And I've seen what stress can do to people. And I asked the doctor back then, I said, he described what the aortic aneurysm does. It's where the aorta swells up to the size of a football, and it ruptures. And it can either go up or it can go down. It can go to the brain or it can go to the legs. And in my dad's case, it went down to his legs, and he was paralyzed from the waist down and just withered away after that. It was just horrible. He was in a coma for a while. But I always knew something like this was going to happen to him. I always knew it. And actually, this was much more gruesome than what I had expected. But I see this happen to people even on much lesser levels, if that's the correct way to put it. Right? Do you know people who are chronically miserable? They're always unhappy, but they have a headache. Their back hurts. They can't hardly get out of bed. They want to sleep all the time. Something's always wrong with them. Or it may not be many things that are wrong with them. They might have a particular thing. And he outlines all of that in this book. And he says, I can't prove that it's caused by the lack of mental health. You can't prove that, but like I said, we can observe patterns. And this is what this is the takeaway from this video. I want you to understand it's important for you to take personal responsibility for your own emotions, for your own reactions to things. It's important for you to keep yourself in a good mood. It's important for you to make yourself happy. I consider myself a very strong survivor. And the reason why is because I saw this coming down the tracks when I was a little boy with my father. I knew it was, like I said, I knew it was going to happen. I saw what was going to happen to my mom. Maybe not in quite the same way as it unfolded. She recently died of cancer. But I've been able to observe the decisions that people make. And I predicted things, and a lot of it unfolded the way it did, I believe, just as I thought it would. So I've always been very conscientious of, no matter how bad things get for me, no matter what kind of stress enters into my life, no matter how my relationships turn out, I'm going to find a way to be happy. Because I can't rely upon anybody else to do that for me. I may not live longer than everybody else. I could still die young. While I'm still kind of young, I guess, right? I could, but I don't want it to be because I put myself in that position. I want to go out with a smile on my face. I want to go out with a positive attitude. I want my life, I want to be able to say about my life at the end that the journey was worth it. That I loved it. When I was a little boy, my kindergarten teacher called my parents into her office, and said, "Listen, your son is about to fail kindergarten because he can't focus on his work. He thinks life is a bowl of cherries." And I've always thought that. I've always thought that way. I love life, but sometimes life makes it where it wants you to hate it. You understand what I'm saying? It wants you to hate it. It throws you all sorts of challenges. It brings hateful people into your life. It brings loving people into your life that turn hateful and brings extreme disappointment and depression. But you've got to handle that. You're responsible. Keep yourself in a good mood. You're responsible for your reactions. It's not easy, and it takes time. I don't think we ever really master it, but you have to be conscious of it. You have to be aware. You have to think about it. You have to plan, and you have to do a lot of talking to yourself. And I mean that. I do. I talk to myself a lot. Sometimes I'll be driving down the road. Of course, I don't do it when other people are around, but I'll have these conversations with myself. I'll say, as if there's another me sitting in there counseling me. And I run a battery of questions against my own conscience, and I make myself answer those things. And you know what? It helps. It forces me to be honest, and it forces me to find a way, to think a way out of the low spots, the valleys. And that's what you have to do. I keep myself in a good mood. I'm not saying 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, I'm walking around all chipper. I'm not. I do get down. I have peaks and valleys. I have peaks and valleys, but I never stay in the valley. Never. I think my way out. And one of the best places to start is stop reacting so quickly to everything. It doesn't mean you have to be emotionless, but it does mean you have to be responsible. It all starts with you. It's going to be up to you. At the end of the line, at the end of your life, the only one that you've got is you. And I've seen so many people throw away their lives because of a long series of bad decisions about how they were handling the rough spots. Okay. I think I've said enough. I hope that's helped. I hope that's meant something to you. Leave a comment down below. Give me your thoughts. make sure you subscribe to this channel. Like the video because it does help me. And consider donating to the channel if you want to, but you don't have to. I do thank you for listening and for being here. And if you need to know someone's on your side about this, maybe you've been thinking about this, pondering it for a while, know that I've got your back. I believe in you, and I know you can do this. And if you can grasp this and apply it, it will change your life. All right. I'll catch you guys on the next one. In the meantime, be wise.